I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, April the 27th, brought to you in part by Joplin Regional Stockyards. They've got a pretty big sale here on Monday, 6,500 head starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. Included in that 6,500 head is 30 loads of yearling feeders there. You can view and bid on Joplin there at dvauction.com or go to joplinstockyards.com. The wagon wheel that makes up this whole system, agriculture system, especially animal agriculture, it's got a bunch of cogs broke in it and just not barely holding together. We're just about to lose it all. I tell you what, when you talk about the production that it takes, the amount of crop production that it takes to feed people and feed the livestock, and that's something that we do here that they don't do a lot of other countries, is we feed our animal agriculture, we feed them grain. And I remember I had a college professor, you could always tell how advanced a country was by what it feeds its cattle and livestock. Well, here we feed it grain. And that's a part of a cog that works together. And then the grass that we turn the cattle out on, the cows that are eating the grass, and we're backgrounding cattle and moving cattle through the feedlot, and moving hogs through there, some sheep, even chickens, everything, and we're just moving them all in there, and everything has to be working right for all that to come together. And boy, did this Corona deal come in and mess that up. Tell you what, when we started losing some of our slaughter capacity, it just completely tore that whole wagon wheel up that made that system work. And then immediately we just saw animals of all kinds of livestock just backing up. We've got people destroying, hundreds of thousands of chickens. A lot of hogs are being destroyed. The others, they're turning the heat up on them, and they're backing the water off of them, trying to keep them from growing so much. We've even had some of the cattle feeding industry come out and call for the no longer using beta agonists and to not implant the cattle. And if whether or not it does make a big difference, or people wouldn't do it, but whether or not it's going to be enough to hold them back. Now, I don't think we're going to be euthanizing cattle out there. There's plenty of backyard butchers that would love to take cattle off people's hands if they've got them, and they're just worth too much money. A $40-some hog, that's not that big a deal, and a chicken that's not worth too much isn't that big of a deal. But and dumping of the milk, they're not giving away the milk cows yet, but they are dumping hundreds of thousands of gallons of milk all the time. And man, we just hate to see that when there's people that would love to have those products. There's people sitting in lines, for food shelters that would love to have those products. We just cannot get them processed. And it's really, really a shame. And it's enabling our packers, which, they've got a lot of upheaval in their plants too, because of the problems with their workforce in there, and the COVID-19 coming in and made a lot of them sick, made a lot more of them scared, made a lot more of them think about maybe just collecting that unemployment and the bonus that comes with it, and their stimulus check, and staying home with their kids because their kids are home from school. But whatever it is, it's a big problem, and it's really made a mess out of our livestock packing. But we've got to get this deal straightened back out. We've got to find some people that want to come to work. If those that are working there don't want to do it, they've got to do whatever they got to do to get working with these unions to entice the people to come back to work. But we've got to get these plants back up and running as soon as we can. We're starting to come out of the cave a little bit. We're looking around at the shadows and coming out with our head ducked and our hands up, and starting to come out. Over the weekend we had a few states that opened up things a little bit more. Here in Texas we're going to be opening up quite a bit more relatively quickly, and by next week a lot of our businesses are going to be back opened. Now the way that they've kind of done it, which we're expecting another announcement here first of the week, but if you got several cases within your county, then they will limit you to opening back up. But some of our more dispersed counties, you know, the lighter populations, they'll be opening up pretty quick, and we're glad to see it. And I think most of you guys think too, as we start seeing more places open up, if we don't see a big wreck with more coronavirus cases, I think it'll just snowball, and we'll be pretty well open here towards the first of the summer, you know, early part of June. The hell of it is, they've already canceled pretty much everything everybody wants to go to, so that's kind of spoiling things. But this lack of being able to process these cattle has really enabled these packers to come in and gouge. And I tell you what, the gouging is horrible, guys. You know, it's not just in your meats, it's in a lot of different products. But you know, it's just like last week I was in Oklahoma there, where a lot of places you can buy gas for under $1 a gallon. And then over the weekend was down in Dimmitt, Texas. It's over $2 a gallon. I know there's a difference in taxes there, but not that much. I remember back when 9/11 happened, was living up north of Kansas City then, and we had a lot of your filling stations that came in and jacked up their price on fuel because the demand was so high and people were waiting in lines afraid they weren't going to be able to get fuel. Well, you know, your government come in there, and the DOJ, and they handed out stiff penalties to those convenience stores, those filling stations that raised the price. And I don't know where they're at here. I don't know what investigation they've got going. Normally, if you call the cops while a bank robbery is in session and the cops show up, the robbers quit robbing the bank. But they haven't done it here so far. I mean, we've got these box beef cutout values jacked up nearly to $300 a hundred. Unbelievable, just completely blew it away. And they know they can put them up there because they know we're facing a protein shortage, and guys are going to have to buy them. I don't think they're pushing as hard in the plants that they can process in because frankly, you know, they're doing pretty good through this crisis. Any kind of a crisis is good for your packer, and you should see them really pushing hard for these plants that are open, but you're not really seeing it. You know, they're not running a Saturday like they were after the Holcomb fire yet. But it's unbelievable what's going on here. The packers are not honoring some of their contracts on picking these cattle up and some of your formula deals. And, you know, I don't know how they get away with that kind of thing. I know that most places don't have a formal contract on sales there. They just have an agreement there. But and the hell of it is, your feedlots cannot buck them. They just cannot buck them. I mean, you cannot take the chance of pissing a packer off, or he's going to come back and retaliate against you. And all of them are saying that. It's pretty bad when I have people call me all the time saying, man, I'd really like to sign up to that minimum 30-14 deal you guys got going, but I just can't take a chance on doing it. If the packers would happen to see that, then I won't be able to get my cattle sold. That's the way we do business here. I thought that's the way they did business in Brazil. But no, that's the way we do business here in the good old US of A. We've got a big push here late last week to reinstitute mandatory country of origin labeling. That would be great if you could do it. I know a lot of you guys think that I'm against cool. Why would I be against cool? Yeah, cool. If it would help things, it would be great. Now, I think that this crisis that we're in, this coronavirus crisis here, is a good opportunity to get things like mandatory country of origin labeling put in. But don't be mistaken in thinking that cool would have helped us avoid the situation we're in. It wouldn't have done anything but maybe perhaps allow your packers to charge just a little bit more for the dressed beef. But the things that we need to do is we've got to get producers a larger portion of the retail beef price. We've got to get that. Cool doesn't do that. Now, it could bring more demand uh, domestically for our beef, because people can look and see that it's raised and slaughtered, fed and everything right here in the USA, and a lot of people will like that, and your packers will probably be able to jack up the price a little bit more on that. But how the hell do we get a portion of that? I don't know. It could weaken the demand for your exports coming in. That could in a roundabout way help. That would be great if we could do that. I've lived down here in the Southern Plains a lot. I've lived and worked up in Minnesota and up in Pennsylvania, and I kind of see how the pull from the north and the south is. There's a pretty big contingent that would like to see just a product of North America on there, and you think, oh no, heck with them, we don't want to do that, we don't want to work with them, we just want USA. I agree with you, I'm all about USA too, but you've got to consider what that takes into place. We know that we can't limit production, we can't shut these slaughterhouses down, we can't even dial them back very much and keep a robust market. So, what happens when you have a Mexican steer come along, or a Canadian cow or whatever? You've got to shut those plants completely down, sterilize them, get rid of every speck of ground beef or trim or anything that's on that whole production from the time they're slaughtered all the way through the meat's done. And then you've got to kill those ones from a different country, make sure that they're separate and labeled. And then you've got to sterilize it all again, and you're shut down that whole time, mind you, while you're doing it. And I know you guys are cussing me already, and man, I can't wait to get the hate mail, because some of you people that are big on this cool deal are the most passionate in the industry, and I think it's great. And I think it would be great if your people in the United States could go in there and look and see that their meat was all raised and fed and killed and slaughtered and processed all in the USA. I think that's great. John Shaven, my friend up there in Dunlap, Iowa, he did a great demonstration using his hat to kind of show how that works. And I think it's a great plan. And I think it needs to happen. But this time when they institute it, it's got to include food service. Last time it didn't, and so that was a big part of it. If you could go into a restaurant and see that labeled on the menu there, that would make a bigger difference, I think. It's got to do that. But if we get all that put in and we get a shortage of beef sometimes, don't be thinking you're going to get 99-cent burgers anywhere, because that's not going to happen either. But we've got to concentrate on the things we have to have. A larger portion of the retail beef price. We've set records the last 2 years for the producers getting the smallest portion of the retail beef price. We've got to change that. We've got to have a plan to keep smaller producers in business. And I'm talking about small cow-calf guys, small backgrounders, and small packers, and small feeders. We've got to keep them all in business, guys. We need more slaughter capacity. We've got to have more packing plants scattered around this country, big and small. We need to loosen the regulations where some of these that don't have a USDA inspector and they only have state inspections can retail their beef easier. We need to do that. They've done that in some states already, and we need to continue to do that. We've got to find more ways to control this vertical integration, or we're going to be completely done, guys. Absolutely completely done. And if we don't get started on it immediately, we've got to use this opportunity to quit bitching at each other and having these piss fights on social media. That doesn't help anything. How would you like to be a legislator and look at all the comments and the nasty stuff that goes on? There was a girl from Oklahoma on there that has experience in the industry that were telling people, saying, hey, this building a packing plant's not as easy as you think. You've got to know this, you've got to know that. And she was spelling it all out and actually offering her services there. People jumped on her like crazy. And it's just unbelievable. People, you can sit behind that shield in your home and nobody knows where you're at or where you're sitting, and you can type a nasty message out and send it out and really try to get a stinger on somebody, and then see if you get any likes on there, and then just keep checking it all day long. And it's ridiculous, people. We've got to use this opportunity to get as many things done, including cool. We've got to get as many things done as we can. We've got to loosen this regulation. We've got to get cool passed. We've got to get things in order to get more slaughter capacity, large and small. We've got to loosen the regulations so they can sell that product easier. And we've got to get minimum negotiated cash trade. We've got to get it. We're pushing on the minimum 30. We're going to take all we can get. It may go as high as 50, but probably land somewhere in the middle. But we're calling for a minimum of 30% within a 14-day delivery. Still pushing that. Still excited about it. You can still get on and do the sign-on letter, guys, with your outfit. But let's talk about your cattle on feed report that came out on Friday. Your inventories, this would be a big boon. I mean, it would have been a huge bullish report, but nobody will even pay any attention to it because we're in the midst of this crisis deal. But your inventories come in at 94.6. That was about 0.6% smaller than your average, your analyst guess at 95.2. Your placements, unbelievable placements. I know when the average of the analyst guess come out at 80%, just over 80, when people were thinking, oh my gosh, really? And it come out at 77.3. Wow. I mean, we had only like 1 week of normal receipts in your auctions and normal movement in March, and then when that Corona deal really got cranked up, everything just went to a screeching halt. But you still have big strings of cattle, order bought cattle and cattle moving around, and you think it would still add up to more than 80%, but it didn't. Marketings were up big because of the panic buying at 113.1% compared to the 112.2 that they had guessed. But your cattle on feed inventories, the north is down the most by far. The north is down about 9% on their numbers on feed, where the south is only down about 3.5%. And we know that we've got big market ready supplies, and we've been dreading that. But our big market ready supplies of cattle that's been on feed for over 150 days are still down 200,000 head from the same time a year ago. So we're not in that bad a shape. We're just getting backed up all the time. I do think whenever we get things loosened up, these packers get to rolling a good again 6 days a week, we can get out of it sometime this summer. Let's look at the futures. April live cattle last week, Monday was down $1.12, Tuesday down $1.92, Wednesday down $2.65, Thursday down to $3 limit. Friday it was down to $4.50 limit late in the trading session, and then come back and just close down 97, but down every day of the week. And your April contracts finished the week at 84.97, down $9.68 for the week. June ended up down $3.68 for the week at 82.62. Feeder cattle, April, Monday was down $1.20, Tuesday down 42, Wednesday up 57, Thursday up 95, Friday up 37. Your cattle were selling pretty well in your auctions, guys. And why is that? Because we have multiple buyers bidding on them. It's not like you're packing end of it. But April feeder cattle finished the week at 119.80, actually up 28 cents for the week. May finished at 117.45, down $1.82. Your fat cattle trade was it was a joke. We didn't even have a lot of the USDA market news reports available late in the week to really see how the wrap-up is. And I've been very disappointed in my former employers there at AMS Market News, because the times we really needed those reports, they've been jacking around with the format on how to get them. People weren't being able to get them, calling around wondering where they at, having technical difficulties. Yeah, right. Okay, they've got a lot more technology than they ever did when I was around, and we didn't have problems like that. And it's very curious why when we need them the most, they're not getting those reports out. But few early sales last week from your regional packers and the JBS plant from 94 to 95 there. Well, you remember fairly early in the week we saw Cargill. They're trying to keep their shirt clean a little bit and trying to keep their suppliers happy, and they know that people know how much money they're making, and they would they're kind of trying to be right there. They bought some cattle at $1.05, but the board just kept going down and kept going down. Then by the time we got to Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're down to $1, and then by Friday we're down to 95 cents. But that was $1, somewhere between $1 and 95. 95 is the last established quote, but probably more cattle traded around $1. But we'll have to see on Monday whenever we get everything turned in and we see what the weighted averages are. We're not sure where that's going to sit and what kind of volume we had. But box beef cutout values, like we talked last week, hit all-time record highs and then just blew the doors off of them, and they just kept going up. Everybody wants to tie your fat cattle trade to your box beef cutout values. For the last 6 weeks, it would have been great. But don't think those packers are going to allow you to see all that demand. Under normal conditions, they hide it in out front sales, guys. And you got to be careful wanting to tie anything that you're doing to the packers, because we can't stroll through the packing house. It's not transparent. We don't know what's going on in there. And if they don't have to absolutely report it, they're not going to tell you. So, I don't know that we would want to do that. And someday, maybe, if we ever get things turned back around, maybe your cattle people will be making something similar or close to what your packers are making ahead, and then we don't want to get in a situation where we've limited our upside. But box beef cutout values, your choice cuts on Friday, ended the week at $293.37, up $9.08 for the day, up $54.38 a hundred for the week. Oh my goodness. Select $279.02, up $6.13 for the 1 day trading session, up nearly $52 for the week. Now that's embarrassing, when you're making that kind of much money there. And I showed you guys as I did some of my cowboy math there, that how the packers were making well over $1,000, and by the end of the week it would have been more like $1,100 or $1,200 per head, while your cattle feeders would be straight. If they were straight up cash, they'd be losing their ass. But most of them are hedged up, and the basis is big, so they're kind of coming out. But if you just bought cattle and fed them and sold them, you've just been losing astronomical kind of money, and some of you are. I know that. Your slaughter for last week, very disappointed. Only 460,000, down 42,000 from the disappointing week the week before, and down 180,000 compared to the same week a year ago. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. We got some big sales coming up. We got a board sale at Montgomery Stockyards in Montgomery, Alabama on Monday. It starts at noon. And Montgomery Stockyards, 70 loads of those good ryegrass backgrounded yearlings there. And I tell you what, they'll probably be worth the money in today's times, but you guys will have to tune in to find out. But 70 pot loads of them, and they'd be the kind you want to feed in the summertime, guys. It wouldn't have a lot of thick hair on them. Be a pretty good kind, but they stand the heat pretty well. So you want to get on that Montgomery Stockyards board sale. Oklahoma City look like they're going to have about 10,000 head for Monday. So guys are just having to sell them. They're not excited about it by any means, but they're having to. Last week, your cash feeders, your real-time index on DV auction ended the week at 120.09, which is basically the same way that it ended the week before. So about steady last week, even though we're hinging our market trends on Thursday. We have pretty much all the way through this coronavirus deal. It hasn't been a new trend on a Monday, finishing up on a Friday. They've been kind of hinging on a Thursday. So this past week, our markets were higher early in the week, all the way till we got through Wednesday, and then on Thursday they turned back. But of course the week before that they were the opposite. So that's just kind of how we've been going through this coronavirus deal. And everything's kind of balancing out in the end, but our trends are changing there mid to late week. But your early week sales were probably $3 to $6 higher, and late week sales maybe $2 to $4 lower, but kind of balanced out with the way they should be. Look at the big sales late in the week. Mankato livestock, Mankato, Kansas on Friday. Look at these strings of cattle they sold there. All these steers and some of them pretty darn respectable. You look at a couple loads there weighing around 875 at 116.50. A couple of heavy 6-weight steer calves there, $155 plus. Had a load of 750 pound steers at $141.50. Burwell Livestock Market in Burwell, Nebraska had 2 loads of 770 pound steers at $129.75. The best quote I saw on light calves come out of St. Onge, South Dakota. That's St. Onge Livestock there. My friend Justin Tupper, 75 head, 582 pound steers bring $174. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.